Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on Disruptive Events, the Final Plan. In this lesson, we'll explore how organisations can effectively communicate during disruptive events to support employees, maintain trust, and manage risks. You'll learn the critical elements of a well-prepared communications plan, how to formalise incident response procedures, and the principles of clear, consistent, and honest messaging. Whether you're in a leadership role or support function, this session will help you understand your part in managing communication when it matters most. Let's get started. Employee communication policies. Now, let's begin by looking at employee communication policies, which form the foundation of any effective response plan. A good communication policy does more than set rules. It shapes expectations and provides clear guidelines for how information should flow within the organisation. This includes both internal communication between leaders, managers and employees, and external communication with stakeholders such as clients, partners and regulators. Such policies ensure that messages are delivered in a structured, consistent and purposeful way. Importantly, these policies also help to facilitate meaningful and essential communication. In times of disruption, employees need timely, accurate updates that allow them to take the right actions and feel supported. Without clear policies, uncertainty can spread, leading to confusion and poor decision-making. Strong communication policies also strengthen employee confidence in the organisation's future. When staff see that their leaders are prepared and transparent, it reassures them that the organisation is resilient and capable of handling challenges. Finally, let's remember that a well-structured communication policy reduces conflicts and misunderstandings. Instead of rumours or speculation filling the gaps, employees receive clear guidance, which helps ease uncertainties and maintain focus on business continuity. Formalise the incident response team. Activation process. Next, let's talk about the formal activation of the incident response team, a crucial step in dealing with disruptive events. The very first communication after a threat is the activation of the incident response team. This ensures that there is a coordinated, structured reaction instead of fragmented or delayed responses. Any employee who suspects that a security incident has occurred, whether it's a cyber attack, a physical security breach, or an unusual system behaviour, has a clear responsibility. They must immediately contact the organisation's Security Operations Centre, often referred to as the SOC. The SOC then takes charge by following a standard triage process. Triage, in this context, means quickly assessing the seriousness of the situation, categorising the incident, and deciding the appropriate next steps. This process is essential because not every issue requires the activation of the full response team. For example, a minor technical glitch might be managed locally by IT support. However, a major data breach would immediately trigger the full incident response team to act. By formalising this process, the organisation avoids hesitation or confusion. Everyone knows the chain of action: detect, report, triage, and, if necessary, activate the response team. This ensures that critical incidents are managed swiftly, decisively, and in line with organisational policy. Respond to the issue quickly. Now that we've covered the importance of activation processes, let's turn to the principle of responding quickly during a disruptive event. Time is absolutely critical. When disruption strikes, whether it's a cyber attack, a power outage, or a supply chain interruption, every second counts. Delays can increase the impact of the incident and cause unnecessary stress for both employees and stakeholders. It is therefore essential to avoid lengthy approval procedures that slow down communication. In moments of crisis, people don't have the luxury of waiting for multiple layers of sign-off. They need clear, immediate instructions to act with confidence. Employees also rely on timely information to carry out their duties effectively and to keep stakeholders updated. For example, if customers are waiting on a shipment but the warehouse has been temporarily shut down, staff must be informed straight away so they can communicate with customers accurately. Equally important, gaps in communication create space for speculation, rumours, and misinformation. These can spread quickly, especially through social media or informal staff conversations, leading to confusion and potentially damaging the organisation's credibility. So, the message is clear now. During disruptive events, the speed of communication is just as important as the accuracy of the information shared. Communicate clearly and concisely. Building on the importance of speed, the next principle is to communicate clearly and concisely. First, it's vital to ensure that all information is easy to understand. In critical situations, people don't have the time or energy to interpret complex language. Your message should be straightforward, so employees know exactly what to do without hesitation. Secondly, we must recognize that during critical incidents, people may be distracted by other tasks. They may be handling safety measures, dealing with urgent technical issues, or supporting colleagues. This makes it even more important that your communication is direct and simple, so it cuts through the noise and grabs their attention. Finally, always avoid vague or unclear messages. If a message requires extra effort to interpret, you risk delays, errors, or even non-compliance. Instead, use clear wording that leaves no room for doubt. For example, if the message says, "Follow the standard procedure unless directed otherwise," this is vague and open to interpretation. But if the message states, "All staff must exit the building immediately through the main entrance," it is clear, precise, and leaves no confusion. So, the rule here is simple. Clear and concise communication can save time, reduce mistakes, and keep people safe during disruption. Ensure what you are saying is consistent. The next key principle is to ensure consistency in communication. First, it's essential to use consistent messaging across all communication channels. Whether the information is delivered via email, intranet updates, SMS alerts, or face-to-face briefings, the message must carry the same meaning and intent. Secondly, this means you must maintain the same message regardless of the channel used. Employees should not hear one thing in an internal announcement and something different from another department or through social media. Mixed messages lead to confusion, hesitation, and in some cases, mistrust. Finally, when it comes to external communication, such as social media posts, press releases, or updates to customers and the public, these must always align with the internal messaging. If employees are told one version of events, but customers hear another, the inconsistency can harm the organisation's credibility and create unnecessary tension. Therefore, a consistent message builds confidence, avoids misunderstandings, and ensures everyone inside and outside the organisation receives the same story. Ensure honesty and transparency. Another fundamental principle is to ensure honesty and transparency. We must recognise that misleading or unclear communication can cause irreversible damage to corporate reputation. Once an organisation is caught withholding the truth or presenting inaccurate information, it becomes very difficult to rebuild credibility. Stakeholders are far less likely to trust future communications. Also, within the organisation, a lack of honesty can be equally damaging. Internally, it leads to a loss of trust and decreased morale. Employees who feel that leadership is not being truthful may disengage, become skeptical of updates, or even spread their own version of events, which worsens the disruption. In addition, always communicate truthfully and transparently. Even if you don't have all the answers, it is better to say, "We are investigating and will update you as soon as possible," rather than to hide information or provide false reassurance. In general, honesty isn't just a moral choice. It is a strategic necessity for maintaining both reputation and trust in times of disruption. What to include in your response communications plan? Now, let's look at what should be included in a response communications plan. The first step is to define what a disruptive event means in your organization. Every business faces different risks, and it's important to be clear on what counts as a disruption that will trigger the plan. For example, in a hospital setting, a disruptive event might include IT system failures that affect patient care. In a manufacturing company, it might include a machinery breakdown that halts production. Defining these triggers ensures the plan is activated at the right time, not too late and not unnecessarily early. Secondly, you need to assign specific roles and responsibilities. During disruption, it must be clear who is responsible for drafting messages, who approves them, and who distributes them. By assigning these roles in advance, you avoid confusion and duplication of effort when speed is critical. Everyone knows their role, which helps the organization act quickly and in a coordinated way. Thirdly, the plan must contain key messages. These messages should be prepared with the most likely incident scenarios in mind. For instance, if your business is vulnerable to cyber attacks, you should prepare template messages about data security. If natural disasters are a risk, have prepared messages about office closures or safety procedures. Key messages ensure that communication is accurate and consistent, even under pressure. What to include in your response communications plan? Continuing with what your response communications plan should include, let's focus on 3 more essential elements. First, the plan must provide assistance and guidance on when to communicate and how frequently. Not every incident requires constant updates, but in some cases, silence can create anxiety. For example, during a prolonged IT outage, staff may need hourly updates to stay informed. On the other hand, for a short disruption, a single clear update may be enough. By setting guidance in advance, you avoid both under-communicating and overloading people with unnecessary messages. Secondly, the plan should provide guidance on the internal communications channels that must be used to deliver information. This might include email, SMS alerts, internal messaging systems, or even face-to-face briefings. The key is to decide in advance which channels will be used for which types of messages. For instance, safety alerts might always be sent via text message, while progress updates might go out by email. Having this structure avoids confusion during critical moments. Finally, the plan should include a mechanism to assess the success of your communications. This means evaluating how effective the messages were after the event. Did employees receive the updates? Did they understand the instructions? Were stakeholders kept informed? By reviewing and measuring communication performance, the organization can improve its response to future incidents. For example, after a severe weather event that forced office closures, an organization might review how many employees saw the closure message, how quickly they received it, and whether they followed the instructions correctly. This feedback loop is vital for strengthening future plans. In conclusion, effective communication is the foundation of any successful response to disruptive events. By putting clear policies in place, formalizing activation processes, responding quickly, and ensuring that messages are clear, consistent, and transparent, organizations can build trust and maintain stability even in times of crisis. A strong communications plan, one that defines roles, sets timing, identifies channels, and evaluates success, helps employees feel supported and reassured, while also protecting the organization's reputation. Thank you for joining today's session. I hope you find these insights useful in your professional journey.